Supernatural Season 12, Episode 18, The Memory Remains. Now this I thought was an interesting episode. It was definitely a Monster of the Week sort of thing, but the other half of the story, really it was more like 1/3 of the story because it was like, kind of small snippets here and there. But the other part of the story in this episode is actually the Men of Letters going into Sam and Dean's place and basically combing through everything that they have, like getting information on them in any way, shape, and form that they possibly could on who they are, who they know, where they've been, where they're going, that sort of thing. And I kind of like that because, of course, where it's going to head to as far as this, big climactic battle between, Sam, Dean, Mary, Cass, and the Men of Letters. Maybe they'll get some other hunters to back them up, some newer characters that we haven't seen yet. There's like 3 characters that I can really think of. I think everyone else is honestly dead. I think it's like Jody, Claire, and I can't remember Claire's sister's name at this point, but I'm sure there's got to be somebody else that's still alive, and Garth, those are like the 4 people I think that are like actually still alive. And Eileen at this point, she's newly introduced, but Eileen, one of the few characters that are like could help them that are actually alive. But I love what they did with that. It was definitely more, this is good for the future of the season rather than this specific episode, because they were searching through the whole place and not much really happened. They were combing through, of course, Sam and Dean had the colt, so they didn't get the colt back. They end up bugging them, so they have a little bit of extra information. I'm sure that'll come into play maybe in next week's episode, because finally we get to see that Cass is showing up in the next episode. Or it's not next week, apparently we have a 2-week break now. So next episode, Cass is officially coming back, so I'm excited for that. But I was like, okay, not much for this episode outside of the bug, and we had the creepy moment with the picture. And they have this moment. So he's going through. Also, it was funny because first off, when he opened the drawer and there was just all shirts, they're just all black shirts. I thought that was funny. But when we get to the scene where we have the pictures of all the characters, and then we have the picture, the one picture that Mary's in, and I was like, okay, so this could be kind of it's already somewhat creepy. He's like kind of touching the picture and he's just staring at it. And I'm like, okay. So at this point, this is the first picture that he's seen of Mary from the past, and I'm like, this could just be him going through. He pauses on it because it's like, man, I slept with her, I don't really want to kill her, that sort of thing. Because apparently that's what's happening. He's getting like this weird infatuation with her, where apparently this will come up. Because I mentioned when he was told to just kill all the Winchesters, I was like, him sleeping with someone probably won't have any effect. Apparently I was completely wrong about that, because that seems to be the case. So he has the picture. It's like, alright, if he takes the picture, this is super creepy mode. Because right now he's just staring at it. It's like, oh, that's that's Mary, and I kind of have feelings for her. That's one thing. And, they cut from that, and I was like, okay, well, he didn't seem to take the picture. And then, of course, we go to the end of the episode after everything's gone down, and he takes that picture out, and he's like, brushing his finger across it, and I was like, this is full creepy mode, because he stole the picture, which of course that's gonna, it'll be some reference to it, I'm sure, where Dean will randomly be looking in the drawer and it's like, man, I can't find that picture of me and Mom. So he took that picture, and I was just like, wow, that makes it even creepier that he actually stole the picture after you're staring at it for all that time. So we have that at the end. We have his rising hatred, I would like to say, for Sam and Dean when, he has a bug, and after they get off the phone, they're like, oh man, we gotta work with him. And Dean's just saying stuff like, I hate that guy, he creeps me out. And the dialogue went out, but this is one of those rare moments where subtitles are great. But Dean in the background, when, I swear to God, I still can't remember if it's Tetch or Catch. I believe it's Catch. I swear. I don't know why that bugs me. I always can't, I just never remember. But when he's looking at the picture, in the background, when Dean's saying, like, he also has this really crappy, and, like, I was reading it, and he's like, this really, really old and unreliable motorcycle, and it looks ugly or something like that. It really made me laugh, because, like, the audio was drowning out for Dean, because it was focusing on the creepiness. But I was like, that's just really funny. Like, he just hates his motorcycle, too. So it made me laugh. It was just, like, an extra little thing to mention. But I'm excited for where that's headed for sure. The main point of this episode, the actual monster of the week, I actually liked. The way they started it off, it was like, okay, this right here, this is clearly a person in a mask. That was very obvious from the beginning. And as things played out, I'm like, okay, they think they're looking for a monster. It'll be one of those episodes where it ends up being a person. Like, they're looking for a person. And then it gets crazier, because when we have the second kid who gets knocked out when he's leaving work, It's like, okay, that's a guy in a suit. But then we get to the parts where he's in the freezer, and it's like, okay, he saw his buddy, and I was like, oh, his buddy's not dead. And then they show his face, and it's all clawed up and stuff, and he's kind of ripped up, and I was like, no, he's definitely dead. And then seemingly a real monster comes out, and I was like, okay. So I think, at that point I was like, this is still the person, right? Like, he's just maybe a crazy person is what I was still thinking. Like, he's kind of playing up the Black Bill thing. And I was like, but it's still a person, right? Just killing a bunch of people and, being insane. So the episode continues on, and it's like, all right, well, we find out that the sheriff of the town is also the owner of the factory where all the people keep disappearing from. Everyone that's disappeared used to work at the factory as well. And things kind of continue on. They end up finding the old house, which almost looks like an insane asylum a little bit, which they make the joke about the Addams family. But I was like, okay, well, let's see where this goes. So they get to the house, they find like the crazy torture basement. Sheriff shows up. That's when we get the backstory that it really is a demon, and it's the demon Moloch, which I thought was interesting. Being a fan of Sleepy Hollow, I was like, oh, I actually know that demon and stuff like that. So they have this story where his family for generations had Moloch locked in the basement, and basically they kind of made him suffer so he couldn't get any blood. And I was like, all right, you make us rich, we'll get you blood. And that was how they got all their money and amassed their fortune and everything like that. And that's why in the beginning of the episode, when the person we find out by the end who is his brother, who's running the plan, where he's like, oh, we don't have enough money to buy this and do that, it's because they never had enough money to begin with. All the money always came from this demon. It was never actually that they made money. It was just like they just kept it going, and they just got more and more money from this dark magic. So I was like, okay, that actually ties into how this giant factory suddenly has to start closing down and stuff like that. I was like, that's actually kind of interesting. It's one of those little things where it's like you probably won't think about it, because I certainly didn't when I was actually watching it at the end. But after having seen it, it was like, oh man, that's why they were losing money, because technically they were never really making a bunch. They just always got it from the demon. So it's like, that's a cool little way to kind of tie things in as to why the factory started failing at random and stuff like that. So, we get the backstory, and the guy's talking about how his family used to hold Moloch captive and things like that, and they would kind of use the Black Bill kind of folklore in order to kind of trick people and scare people. And that would just be something where it's like, oh, it's Black Bill, and of course no one would actually believe that, but that would be how they got people, because it would be like, it's Black Bill, and it's like, oh, the local legend is what killed your buddy. So of course, that wouldn't work. And then he finds out that Moloch has actually escaped, which I thought was pretty interesting, because when he was telling the backstory, I thought it was going to kind of end with him saying, I'm trying to find a way to like completely destroy Moloch, like somehow it escaped, or he knew that it escaped, and he was trying to figure out some way to do it, and he was checking the cave, maybe there was some extra clue or something he could use. And when Dean looks down, he's like, it's empty, and he freaked out. I was like, oh, I thought he was giving the backstory to tell them, like, yeah, I've been trying to figure something out, and he knew that it escaped, but even he didn't know at the end. I was like, okay. And that's when his brother comes in, and that's when we get the answer to that. So I was like, all right, that was a nice little twist. It was the family twist, but we didn't even know there was family for the twist. So I was like, that's actually kind of a cool way to do it. We find out that the sheriff and the guy who runs the factory are actually half brothers. He was the kind of, the half brother was the unwanted stepchild. And I thought that was kind of cool. It was always just his revenge, and he knew about Moloch, and he was like, I want, the money and the power, and I want to get rid of him so that I can have everything that I feel I'm rightfully owed. I was like, that's actually kind of a cool way to do it. So it was kind of, them searching for a human, but at the same time there was, a monster involved, and ultimately it was the human that caused everything to happen again, because Moloch was still always locked up until the stepbrother found him and unleashed him. And I was like, that's kind of cool. It kind of puts both types of stories together, where it is the human that's actually the villain, but there also is actually a demon by the end of the episode. I was like, I actually like the way that played out. We had like, two villains, and it all started up again because of the human character. So I like the way that played out, and of course, everybody ends up surviving. This was the first time, because I mentioned it before, every time the Colt is shot, it's in slow motion. This is the first time they didn't do it, because I was like, they have the Colt in there, I figured they'd use it because they were talking about the whole freaking episode. And I was like, man, they like just used it. It would be weird to constantly see them shoot the Colt and it's in slow motion. So this was, I'm pretty sure, like, it probably wasn't. It's not the first shot ever, because I know there's definitely been shots where I think it was like when it was a super long. It had to be like season 2 or something, and Dean didn't want to kill his dad, but so he shot him in the leg to get the demon out. So we've seen it not shot in slow motion, but for the most part, like, and that was obviously years and years ago. I think since then, every shot's been in slow motion. I could easily be wrong about that, because it's come back and disappeared so many different times. It's hard to say, but most times it's in slow motion. But this time it was just like, boom, got the demon. Once again, interesting how they did the story, because Malik existed the whole time, and he was being utilized by the stepbrother or the half brother. But he gets to the end, and it's just like, all right, boom, killed it. And Dean's like, whew, and he kind of just collapses on the ground. Problem solved. They head home. The sheriff is like, no, this is my problem. I'll clean it up. And they kind of just take off and head back home, and that's it. And I was like, man, that's actually an interesting way to kind of do that story, where the demon was definitely a part of it, but didn't really have that much control. It was, it was even, they talk about like Malik's technically like got the powers of a god, but it was like, yeah, cult, boom, done. The human was the problem the whole time, and yeah, he gets killed too. So it's just like, all right, yeah, problem solved. It was the human, but there was a demon involved, and I felt it was kind of unique the way that they did it, because it was kind of two different types of monsters in one. So I actually really appreciated that. But that was a pretty good story. Like I said, I'm excited for the next episode, of course, because Cass is coming back. It seems like Mary ends up joining Sam and Dean as well, so like they're all going to be together, which is very cool. And of course, we will see where things go with the Men of Letters and what crazy steps they take pretty soon. And eventually, they have to find out that Mick is dead. Maybe not. Maybe they'll just, there's so many truths now that they can find out. I mean, of course, they bugged the place. That's a truth that they can find out. They killed Mick. That's something that they can find out. They killed all the random people that Sam and Dean have left behind. So those are like 3 things that Sam, Dean, Mary, and Cass can end up finding out if they want to. So we'll kind of see what happens there. The next episode also focuses a lot, of course, on Dagon and Kelly and the baby being born. So I would assume with that being the case, we will have to see pretty much everyone. I think everyone's going to be in the next episode, because I would assume Lucifer is going to be there. I don't remember if he was in the promo, but I would just assume he was. But he has to be there if Lucifer is there. Of course, Crowley has to be there. So we got Dagon, Kelly. I would assume Lucifer and Crowley because of that. We see Cass. I'm pretty sure we do see Mary with Sam and Dean. We get to see Ketch. Maybe the headmistress shows up. I don't really remember if she's in the promo, but pretty much everybody's in this next episode. So I'm certainly looking forward to that. But would love to know what you guys thought about this episode. So please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts. And I definitely want to know where you guys think things are headed with the Men of Letters now. Having bugged the the safe house, it's really hard. It's like, I want to call it the bunker and everything, but now it just feels weird. Like they can just walk in because it's like it's a Men of Letters bunker, and it's like, man, it just doesn't feel the same now that they can kind of just walk in, because like, well, it's the Men of Letters. We know how to get in here. So now it feels weird to just call it what it's called. It's like, it just feels different now. But they bugged the place, so I would love to know how you guys think that's about to, start changing things up for the rest of the season. And of course, I want to know what you guys thought about this episode in general, so please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.